Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. So Bridgerton season 4 is out, at least part 1, and if you guys have seen it or have seen the trailers, you know that it's officially leaning into a Cinderella style story. And watching the trailer and watching the first couple of episodes from part 1 kind of sent me down this spiral, because once you start thinking about it, the Cinderella trope is literally everywhere. We've got so many different adaptations of it, like Another Cinderella Story, which I loved as a kid, A Cinderella Story, the live action Cinderella with Camila Cabello, we have Ella Enchanted, countless rom-coms, teen movies, and now Bridgerton, all portraying this one trope. And what's interesting is that Cinderella is basically the only Disney princess story that has ever been turned into a full-blown modern romance trope over and over again. So today I wanted to talk about the Cinderella trope and why it's so popular and what psychological needs it taps into. I'm sure we're all familiar with the story, but if you're not, do not worry, I'll tell you a little bit. At its core, the Cinderella story, or trope, is often about an overlooked or mistreated girl who's stuck in a life where she's undervalued or abused, and suddenly she's chosen by someone powerful, wealthy, or just in a higher class than her. And through that choice, her life is changed forever. So this trope, I think, actually ties in better with recognition than it does with romance. Because in the end, Cinderella stories are really just saying, even if the world doesn't see your worth yet, someone will. And I think that's why it's so easy to translate into high school rom-coms, stories of celebrities and a normal person, royalty and commoners, which is similar to what Bridgerton is doing. Like I said before, when we really peel back the layers of the story, it's about being chosen. That's the core of this trope. And breaking it down further, the Cinderella trope taps into 3 really deep emotional needs. The first one is validation and worthiness. Psychologically, humans crave external validation, especially when they feel unseen in everyday life. So Cinderella stories are able to promise us 2 ideas. 1, you don't have to prove yourself, and 2, someone will recognize your worth without you changing. And I feel like this appeals to a wide variety of audience because many of us feel overlooked, underappreciated, invisible, and feel like you're not special enough, but just enough, if that makes sense. And this fantasy that the trope portrays tells us you are already enough and you just haven't been discovered by the right person yet. And that becomes powerful to the viewers. The second psychological or emotional need I think it falls into is this cognitive bias called just world hypothesis, and it's the belief that good people are eventually rewarded. So Cinderella is basically that belief in a fairy tale format. Remember, she's known as kind, and that helps her get the prince. She suffers, and for that she is eventually rewarded. She endures all this abuse from her stepsisters and stepmother, and after that she is elevated to a place above them. And it kind of works to reassure people that if I'm patient and a good person, life will eventually reward me. But I think it's important to note that real life often doesn't work that way. But this trope kind of emotionally satisfies our desire for fairness. The last thing that I think this trope satisfies emotionally and psychologically is that Cinderella stories offer vertical escape. It's the fantasy of moving up in status, wealth, beauty, and even social safety, because psychologically this connects to scarcity mindset, economic insecurity, and desire for safety. Remember, the prince isn't just a man to Cinderella. He represents security, an escape from her abusive household, an elevation above those who doubted her. And it's why modern Cinderella adaptations often replace the prince with a rich CEO, a famous singer, a royal heir. like something where you're a step above from where you were before. So, one thing I wanted to know is that when researching this, I realized that Cinderella is like the one princess that becomes their own trope, because I haven't really seen other Disney princesses become massive romantic tropes in the same way. Cinderella is uniquely adaptable because her story is essentially a blank slate. She doesn't have a big personal goal besides survival, and she isn't on some hero's journey or seeking an adventure like many other princesses. Her transformation comes from being chosen, and that makes her story really easy to transplant into modern dating culture as a whole. So the Cinderella trope isn't going for character growth necessarily, because she starts off as a really wonderful person. It's about someone else deciding that she is worthy, and that's why I think it keeps being remade into different formats and different movies. But now that we've discussed a lot of upsides of the Cinderella trope and why it's become such a big one in romance, I wanted to talk about the potential dark side of the trope, because I think it's important to note these things when watching or reading about it. The Cinderella trope can be comforting, but it can also subtly teach you that love will save you. Someone else has to rescue you. You don't need agency, you just need to be chosen, and your value increases when a high status person picks you. And I think this can have a dark psychological effect because it makes you promote external validation over self-worth. And I think it also has another downfall. It can romanticize power imbalance and frame love as rescue rather than a partnership as it should be. And I have seen that modern retellings try to fix this, like Camila Cabello's Cinderella being more career-oriented, but it doesn't work because the emotional core of the trope is supposed to be that your life gets better when someone with power chooses you, which I will say is a comforting thought, but also limiting. So please keep that in mind when watching this trope play out in your favorite books, movies, and shows. Personally, I am a sucker for this trope. Like I said near the beginning of the video, another Cinderella story with Selena Gomez has my heart, and I watched it so much as a kid, and I will continue to watch it whenever I feel sad. And I really do love how it taps into the desire to be seen and chosen, because that's something everyone wants. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying that fantasy. I just think it's also worth remembering that you don't need to be chosen by someone more powerful than you to be worthy. And yeah, I really had fun making this video, and I'm very excited for part 2 of Bridgerton season 4. I hope you guys are excited for that too. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also comment. I love reading your guys' comments. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!